Hello, everyone. Welcome to Noah's Natural Foods October webinar. This month we are talking about weight loss and weight gain. And if you tried to tune in a couple minutes ago, apologies, we were just having some technical difficulties. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the webinar. My name is Sarah Stark, and I am a registered holistic nutritionist as well as a certified fitness professional. I'm based in Toronto, but I also work online with clientele as well. So what I do is my approach is, it's really my mission to have people connect with their bodies through food, through movement, and really obtain I'd say the optimal health for each person, and that's different for everyone. And we're going to talk a little bit about that during this webinar. So everybody's body chemistry is different. I want to start with that. And when it comes to weight loss and weight gain, that's going to have a major effect on your results. But overall, I would say results are always 20% fitness, movement, and 80% nutrition. So we're going to look at the nutrition component first, and then we'll go a little bit into movement as well. But because nutrition is 80% of your results, we're going to focus mostly on nutrition. And if you are tuning in, please do say hello. Hi, Koi. Thanks for saying hi. Thanks for tuning in. We might give it a couple more minutes and we'll get a few more people on here. And we're going to leave this available for replay as well. So if there's something that you missed, or if you want to rewatch it and take a few notes down, it's going to be available so you can do that. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Like I was saying, there's two components to weight loss and weight gain. We have nutrition and movement, and there's actually going to be a third component for the weight loss, and we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. Hi, Mark. Thanks for joining us. So we're going to go into the food component. Now, interestingly enough, these two components that we're going to go into a little bit deeper here are actually shared between weight loss and weight gain. And so we want to look at a balanced diet for both of them. And what that consists of is the same thing for both. We want to look at a healthy intake of water. So make sure you're getting enough water, 2 to 3 liters of water a day. You want to get your carbs as complex carbs. You don't want to get simple carbs. We want to look at complex carbs like sweet potatoes, legumes, even fruits will have carbs in them. So we want to look at that as our source. We want to look at healthy fats, and what I mean by healthy fats is fats that help boost your metabolism. So we're going to look at things like MCT oil. Bulletproof has a great one, and I'm going to talk to you more about that. And then look at whole food fats like avocado, olives. These are the kind of fats you want to reach for, whether you're looking to gain weight or lose weight. And the reason for that is because in either case, you're going to be building a healthy body, and you want to make sure that you're doing that with healthy building blocks. You also want to look at high quality, easy to digest proteins. And usually that will be plant-based proteins. And that's because it's a lot easier for your body to break those down and digest them. And we want to look at fruits as our only sugar sources. So instead of having any processed foods or adding any kind of sweeteners to foods, we want to start looking at fruit as our sweet source. And hi, January. I'm glad you tuned in. And yeah, thanks. I'm glad you're here. You're going to go over a lot of great information for sure. And the last one on the list that both weight loss and weight gainers share is fermented foods. And so this is really important because you actually want to make sure that you're balancing out your gut in either case. And that way you're going to get the benefit of what you're really doing. You want to absorb all the foods that you're actually taking in. And in order to do that, you have to have a balanced microbiome. That's also going to be responsible for a lot of mood regulation, cognitive function, overall health, energy, well-being. So how do we balance the gut? I mentioned fermented foods, and there's a couple of other options here as well. So we'll go into fermented foods first because I'm a nutritionist. I'm always on the side of food as the approach, and we're going to talk about that one first. So at Noah's, for example, you can find incredible sauerkrauts and kimchis. These are your fermented foods. This is what you want to include at every meal. You also want to look at including something like a miso. I prefer the yellow miso, or like the light white miso. That has just a much milder flavor in it, but that's full of good probiotics too. Kombucha as well. Now, only thing is with kombucha, make sure that you're getting a true kombucha and not one that has some added sugars and added carbonation, but one that's actually been slowly fermented. So those are your fermented foods, my top fermented foods of choice. There are other ones as well, and the list could go on. Tempeh, I have to mention as well. Tempeh is a great fermented food source and a really high protein, so that's a good one too. And make sure you're getting a non-GMO. I really like the Henry's brand. So the next thing that you can do to help balance the gut is you can look at rebalancing by kind of taking out some of that bad bacteria. And how you can do that is with something like a pure caprylic acid. And so what that will do is help balance the gut by moving out the bad stuff. And so the good stuff can start to repopulate and get the gut balanced, and we'll work on microbiome there. Now, a really good product to actually help balance out the gut, and it's due to the caprylic acid content, is the Bulletproof Brain Octane Oil. And so this is an MCT oil, and I'm sure that you've heard of MCT oil before. If you haven't, MCT oil is derived from coconut. Now, what makes this one so different from the other ones is this one's actually 6 times stronger. And so it's pure caprylic acid. It's 6 times stronger than your regular MCT oil. And so I really prefer to use this one. And I actually use this to make the bulletproof coffee in the morning too. And the reason that I go with that as my morning coffee is that it's a fat burner. And we're going to go into that again in just a minute. Now, I do have a question here from Jill. Thanks for tuning in, Jill. Can I recommend a kombucha brand? It's been a while since I've actually bought one. I've been making my own, but I'm going to check into that and I'll let you know. And Amy, if you're online, can you recommend a kombucha brand that the store has that's a slow ferment? We'll find out. We're going to come back to that. But if you have any questions, please feel free to post away. And so probiotics. So we're going to talk about probiotics. We talked about food, and now we're going to talk about probiotics. Exactly, January. Thanks for putting that in there. So, Tonica Kombucha. All right, perfect. And they are a local company, so that's awesome. So probiotics, my favorite one is New Roots probiotics, and that's because I've just been using it for years. I've tried a bunch of them. This is the one I always come back to. It works really well for me, and so that one is New Roots. It's also really well priced. So if you're on a budget, you don't have to spend a ton of money on probiotics. You can actually get really, really effective ones for a really fair price. And so New Roots is definitely my top pick for that one. There are some other options as well. So if you're strict vegan, you can always look at something like Natron has a vegan formula, but I usually go with the New Roots. And so as I mentioned, so for to balance the gut, I'm just going to quickly recap on that. We have fermented foods. We have our brain octane, which is our caprylic acid, and that helps take all the bad stuff out. And then we have our New Roots probiotics. And so I'm just going to kind of move on a little bit, because I know that I said that these two things are, you know, the two that weight loss and weight gain have in common. And so you might be thinking, okay, so if these two, they're such major components, and if they share such major things like the same diet and balancing the gut, then, you know, are they using the exact same foods? Well, it is the exact same foods actually, and it isn't. So it's how you actually combine them, and that's going to be a big game changer when it comes to weight loss. So combining foods like even a healthy complex carb like a sweet potato, which is such a healthy food option, when you combine it with something like a fat, your body doesn't actually know which one to burn, and so it's going to store one of them. So when you're looking at weight gain, this is perfect because it gives you an opportunity to combine these really healthy foods. And for example, you could make an avocado pudding and put half of a baked sweet potato in there, and that's an amazing weight gainer, healthy food. And if you're going to gain weight, you want to make sure that you're using healthy food so that you're building the healthy body. Okay, and that way you're going to get actual muscle as well. And so you can look at foods in different ways, and we're going to talk about that more too. But I'm just going to quickly touch on movement, because movement is 20% of the results, and so it is an important factor. It also has other benefits other than, you know, seeing physical results. You have cardiovascular benefits. It helps get your lymphatic system going, and then also bone density too, if you're using weights or doing resistance. So with movement, I think it's really important, whether you're looking to lose weight or to gain weight, to make sure that you're going outside of your comfort zone. And the reason's different, but the goal is the same. So you want to try new challenging movements. And the reason for that is if that you're in the weight loss situation, you don't want to reach a plateau. And if you're in the weight gain situation, you might have reached the plateau already, which is why you might not be getting the results that you want. So the other reason you want to do some new, fun, challenging movement is that you're actually going to activate new muscles, you're going to build new muscle memory, and you're going to find out that you're capable of more than you thought you were. And that's my favorite part. So for example, I actually teach fitness, but for personal interest, I train in aerial, I train in trapeze, and lately silks. I've recently just had an injury, so I've taken some time off. But I also teach strength conditioning and flexibility classes at one of the circus studios in Toronto. And that one is Fly With Me, and it's on Sterling Road. So if you want to work out with me, you absolutely can. Please come to one of my classes. It's called Jungle Gym. You can direct message me and I'll send you all the information. But movement is an important part. And so there's actually, you know, you're getting the muscle, you're getting the bone, but you're actually getting the lifting of the spirits as well. You're getting the endorphin rush. So there's so many important components to movement. And it is going to keep you motivated to stay on the diet, which I think is why it's so important. Because when you're making these healthy changes, the movement part, that quick endorphin rush, that makes you want to eat healthy. You actually want healthy foods to satiate that need of, I just had a hard workout, I need to build muscle, or I need to re-energize. So I think it's a really important part. And we just had a few more people sign on. Amazing. Hi, Matthew. Hi, Oren. And so I'm just going to go over another aspect too, and then we're going to go back to the food. So the other aspect is metabolism boosters. So if you're trying to gain weight, this might be something you want to be aware of. And if you're doing it, scale back a little bit. And if you're trying to lose weight, you want to increase this component as well. So my favorite metabolism boosters, because there are a ton of them out there, and it can get really confusing. So I like to do ones that I can incorporate every day into my daily routine for, you know, years to come. I like things that are going to be permanent results. And so when I work with people as well, that's something that I really work towards, is permanent changes. So my favorite metabolism boosters are, number one, the Bulletproof coffee. And I mentioned it for the caprylic acid and the balancing the gut benefit, but the brain octane oil actually has major cognitive benefits and keto benefits. So what I do when I wake up in the morning is, first thing I do is I have my morning cleanser drink, and I actually have that here. I used to do the apple cider vinegar drink, which I still love and I'm a fan of, except a new product came out, and for me as a foodie, it's the most exciting food product that I have seen. I can't even remember how long. It's by Suro, and it's the same company that makes an amazing raw apple cider vinegar. But this one is, let's see, a maple syrup wine vinegar. And it's also a nice slow ferment, and it has all the minerals in there of the maple syrup without any of these sugars. So I now do this instead of the apple cider in the morning, and I'm absolutely in love with this. I'm going to share with everyone too that's tuning in. Please send your email and I'll send you an e-cookbook, and it actually has a nice, fun, easy recipe for baked apples. And I use this in there as well. And so that way you're getting just that, you know, a little bit of a gut protection boost. So I start my morning with that, and that helps alkalize. It gets the digestive system going. And then what I do is my Bulletproof coffee, and I use the Brain Octane, and I always use their coffee now. And so the main difference with this coffee compared to most coffees, to the best of my knowledge, I think that they're actually the only company that's testing for toxins and molds. I could be wrong, but as far as I know, they're the only ones. So that's why I go with these guys, because I know that they're actually testing for toxins and molds, and I'm all about gut health. And I do love coffee. It's something, you know, I think that you can find balance and still enjoy. And so I combine that with the brain octane, and the original recipe calls for grass-fed butter as well. So you can always look for that in your local NOAA stores. And we're doing a giveaway package for the webinar, which is super exciting. And so those who are commenting and participating, you're going to be entered to win the brain octane and the coffee. So you get to do what I do in the morning. And it's super good. And so the next metabolism booster that I'm going to quickly touch on, because I want to leave you guys time to ask questions as well, is green tea. I love green tea for the metabolism boosting effects, but also because it's rich in L-theanine. L-theanine also boosts cognitive function. So if you have racy mind, it helps kind of quiet that down and bring focus. And my third favorite metabolism booster is do 2 20-minute episodes of movement every day. And I just mean movement. That can be anything from doing a little fitness routine or just turning on some music and just giving it, dancing in your bedroom for 20 minutes. Just get moving for 2 20-minute periods a day, and that will just kind of give the message to your metabolism to get going. So I'm going to go and talk about food. And so things you really want to consider when you're looking at weight loss is you want to make sure that you're eating healthy fats, you're cooking with healthy fats, and you don't want to fry anything, you don't want to coat anything with any kind of flour or any kind of breadcrumbs. You want to limit grains and go for more things like sweet potatoes. And some people are pretty anti-starches, but through my practice I've actually seen incredible results with people that cut out the grains but keep some of the healthy starches in moderation. Also, look at the seasonings and sauces that you're using. Are you guys using anything that have a lot of sodium or have a lot of sugar? Because if so, those are the things that are gonna, you know, give you weight gain from the sugar and gut imbalance, and the sodium's gonna hold on to water. So you're just gonna feel heavier. You're not gonna feel as fluid, as light, and that's what you want, especially if you wanna be inspired to get moving and be healthy. And I just see a couple of questions here, so I'm gonna get to you in just 1 second. Are there any non-caffeinated metabolism boosters? Yeah, absolutely. So the brain octane on its own is a metabolism booster. So what you can do is I will put this in my smoothies. I also make carob or chocolate, hot carob, hot chocolate. I'll put that in there. Or I'll make an avocado pudding with just avocado, some raw cacao, a little bit of this, and a teaspoon of maple syrup. But you can even just take a teaspoon of this and it's a metabolism booster. Yeah, no problem, Koi. And so there are 2 big things, actually, they're going to affect weight gain and weight loss. And these are the two big game changers. And I talked about one a little bit earlier, so I'm going to go a little bit more into it now. And that's how you're combining your foods. So, for example, if you're combining complex carbs and fats, and I'm talking healthy fats because I only want you eating healthy fats. So if you're combining the complex carbs and fats, that's a weight gainer because your body doesn't know which one to use for energy. So it's going to store one of them and use one. Now, if you're combining something like proteins, veggies, and healthy fats, that's a weight loss. So for example, you can have a huge plate of roasted vegetables, some nice clean protein. If you eat fish, you know, you want some ocean-wise fish, or you could do some tempeh. You can sprinkle hemp seeds on your salad, and then you can have some sliced avocado, or you can put brain octane on your salad. So that would be a weight loss meal. Fruits alone would be weight loss. And you always want to have fruits away from other foods because they can cause fermentation, and that's going to interfere with all the results. And then fermented foods. Fermented foods help balance the gut. So that's going to help you get the results you want in either way. So the second game changer, and this is the last one that I'm going to go over, and then we'll open it up for more questions, is timed eating. This is such a game changer whether you're trying to lose weight or gain weight. If you're trying to lose weight, start with a 12-hour window. So what that means is if you have your first intake at 6 a.m., that means the Bulletproof coffee, or it could mean breakfast. you want to have your last meal by 6 p.m. So you want to stay within that 12-hour window. And the reason for that is it starts to reset your circadian rhythms. And we're going to talk more about sleep and circadian rhythms in webinars to come. But once your circadian rhythms get reset, then your digestive system runs a lot smoother as well. And so that's the importance of timed eating. If you're trying to gain weight, extend that window, but you still want to leave yourself at least 8 to 10 hours of digestion time. You still want to give your digestive system an opportunity to do what it needs to do. So that doesn't mean eat right before you go to bed, wake up 6 hours earlier and eat breakfast. Give yourself at least 8 to 10 hours, but you want to extend your eating window. So just to give you an idea, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of a sample day menu. And again, if you send us your email, I'll send this to you in the e-cookbook. We'll have the sample menu in there as well. So you wake up, you do a nice alkalizer, stimulate the digestive system. Lately, I've really been into the maple syrup wine vinegar. Also makes the best salad. I can't even start about this. It's just amazing. So you can start with that with your water. It tastes really good. And then you do your Bulletproof coffee. For breakfast, in the recipe book, I'm sending you the recipe for the baked apples. So you do baked apples for weight loss. For weight gain, add in a cup of steel cut oats plus a teaspoon of almond butter. So there's your carbs and your fat, right? So put them together, there's your weight gain. Lunch, salad with a clean protein. If you want to gain weight, add in half a cup of nuts and seeds. There's your weight gainer. For snacks, okay, this I have to tell you about this one. This is new on the market, and they're really hard to find, but thankfully Noah's has them. Noah's has a lot of the tough products that you can't find anywhere else. It's one of the reasons I love them. These are a little bit of a food addiction right now because I never buy packaged foods. I always make my own food. And like I've mentioned before, I also teach fitness. So I'm always on the go. Plus I'm biking all over the city. And sometimes it's really hard just to get enough food to get my energy going throughout the day. So what I found is these protein bars. There's 16 grams of protein, only 4 grams of sugar, and it's more of a prebiotic sugar as well. And you have the peanut butter chocolate chip, and this, my favorite one, the double chocolate brownie. They're called Iron Vegan. They're sprouted protein bars. And if you have any kind of digestive issues, a lot of times people will avoid pea protein because it can cause a little bit of irritation in the gut. And most vegan bars have pea protein in them, or the other bars will have whey protein. And so a lot of times with sensitive stomachs, both of these things will cause upset. This doesn't have either. So they have now become my new favorite bar. So I have to share those with you. So I'm just going to open up the board for questions. And just to quickly recap, I'll send out all this information. If you shoot an email, you get an e-cookbook. Everyone that's commented is entered for a chance to win a Bulletproof giveaway. So that's really exciting. You have to pick it up at your local Noah's, but send us your information when we contact you and we'll let you know which Noah's to go to. It'll be your closest one. So we have questions here. Does Noah's have that vinegar? Yes, it does. And it's actually not a lot of stores carry it, and Noah's has it. And, it's so good. So if you don't have it in your local Noah's is amazing because they have the other stores, that if you don't have it at your local one, you ask for it and they'll get it transferred over for you. So I love Noah's. And hey, Miriam, thanks for watching. And I'm just checking, are dates good sugar? So January, yes, it depends. Okay, so dates are excellent sugar because they also have fiber. And I'm a big fan of, if you're going to take anything sweetened, combine it with a lot of fiber. So for that reason, I like dates. Now for the not so good reason, if you have digestive upset, if you're rebalancing the microbiome, if you're dealing with something like candida, dates are high in sugar. So it's actually one of the ones that you don't use during those periods, but it's really about body chemistry. Overall though, yeah, dates are generally a great sugar source. All right, so I see a few emails on there, so we'll definitely email you the information. Matthew, is which one vegan? I just saw your message. So I see a message from Matthew asking which one is vegan. So Matthew, if you're still there, let me know is what vegan. If it's the iron vegan bars, they are vegan. If it's the Bulletproof Brain Octane, yes, it is. The Suro maple syrup wine vinegar. Oh, the brain, it is, yes. Yes, and so the regular original recipe for Bulletproof coffee calls for grass-fed butter as well, but I've just kind of biohacked my own vegan version. And so what I do is I just take 2 tablespoons of hemp seeds, put them in a little bit of water. You only need to let them soak for 2 minutes, blend them up, and then I add that in instead of butter. And that way I'm still getting some healthy omegas and some healthy fats along with it, and it gives you that creamy effect still. What do I use as a sweetener? So that's a really, really good question. So it depends. It depends what I want to sweeten. Usually I'll use stevia, but usually, so actually I shouldn't say usually. If I feel like I need to add a strong sweetener, I'll add a little bit of stevia. I always add a couple of grains of salt because you might be surprised about how much sweetness a little bit of salt will bring out. So you might not even need a sweetener. And I use Himalayan salt or the Maldon salt, which is that takes salt to the next level. Or I'll use something like bananas, or I'll use pineapples. So those will be my 2 main ones, especially in smoothies. A lot of times too, if I have pineapple, I'll just cook it down into a syrup with a little bit of water and a pinch of salt. And then I have like a sweet syrup that I'll throw in things too. But all of those are pretty time consuming. So if it's quick, if it's something I need, something sweet, I'll go for the stevia. Or lucuma powder, actually. If you haven't tried lucuma powder, that has a very mapley flavor too. And so sometimes I'll get that as well. And that you can get at Noah's too. And for the coffee, oh yeah, so the coffee. So I just wanted to recap too. So the Bulletproof. So the two, these are the 2 ones that you use for the coffee. You can use Brain Octane for anything. You can take it by the spoonful. You can also put it onto oatmeal in your smoothies. But the reason that I'm really into these guys is because they are, as far as I know, the only ones testing for toxins and molds. And so I'm really into that component. And for coffee, January, you have a question. Do I use coffee for nut milk? Do I use nut milks for coffee? Yeah, so I'll make my own hemp milk usually. I'll use the Manitoba hemp hearts. And I'll just quickly blend them up. You only let them soak. You don't even need to do it for 2 minutes. You just give it a quick blend, wait 30 seconds, blend it again, and it turns into a milk. And then you're getting your healthy omegas too. So I really like that aspect. But you can just do this part. But if you really like a creamy, especially if you want the vegan version, I like the hemp option. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just going to see if there are any more questions here. So I'm just going to scroll through. And all right, perfect. So we have a few emails. This is going to be available for the replay, and I'm going to be checking out the comments for the next 24 hours as well, and then periodically for the next few days. So if you do want the information, if you want the ebook, it has some recipes in there. It has the shopping list of everything I talked about, and it just goes a little bit more into why I'm really into this stuff. Then please do shoot us your email. You can either send it in a message to Noah's. If you want more information about what I'm doing, I'm based in Toronto, but I am also available online, and I'm really into functional, fun movement. So I do land fitness, I do aquatics, and then I'm also a nutritionist. So you can always contact me as well if you want to know more about what I'm doing. I'd love to work with you. And my main thing is I'm really into balancing the digestive system and boosting cognitive and physical performance. Yeah, so thank you everyone for tuning in. I really appreciate that. Stay tuned for our next webinar next month. We do it on the first Tuesday of every month at 7 p.m. And yeah, check out your local Noah's Natural Foods. And really, guys, you have to try this. It's my new favorite product on the market, the Suro maple syrup wine vinegar. And I can't say enough. You can use it for salad dressing, and also really good for the digestive system. So I'm just going to leave you with that because I'm really excited about that one. So I know if you try it, you will be too. And thanks for tuning in, everyone. Have a great night, and we'll see you next month.